Good evening, I guess. Hi guys, good evening. This is Anand Dhand. I look after the OEM business for Intel for South Asia. I was just coming out from this room and trying to realize we are holding a very important hall. Unless we don't vacate, drink doesn't start. So pretty much up to us. So you need to feel good about that, okay? So good, and thank you for the introduction. The topic is a bit changed what she said. It's Intel inside, digital India outside. It's not both the things inside, something has to be outside, right? So it's a digital India outside, okay? So what I'm going to be talking about for next 25, 30 minutes, something very interesting for all of us. Our beloved Prime Minister is traveling across the world and talking about digital India, what does it mean, how their companies are investing, and so on and so forth. But the companies, the entrepreneurs, the organization like you and ours, what does it mean for us? In a way, in a simple way, where is the money? Which are the projects we need to focus on? Which are the key verticals we need to focus on? How does this opportunity span off from now to next 2.5 years? So I'm going to take you through those brass tags on how does whole shape of India from our perspective would move from now to next 2.5 years. So is that okay? Is this topic interest you? Good, okay. So I didn't want to get into a technical this, that, all that stuff. I wanted to thought that we talk business a little bit on that. Okay. So again, couple of disclaimers. Intel as an organization is one of the preferred organizations which government bring us on many discussions, especially when they're laying down the IT infrastructures for a very large projects. And when they're laying down these projects, they discuss certain business priorities and everything with us. See, all the numbers which you will see is more or less is our interpretation when we worked with IDC and third party altogether. So the source of that data, most of the time it will come from Intel. You will not find from third party. So if you have any discrepancies, if you have any questions around that, happy to answer and happy to talk you through on those points. Okay, so because the numbers you're going to see, some going to be very, very interesting numbers. So I'm sure most of you will say possible, not possible, and stuff like that. Okay, so digital India is basically split into 3 large buckets. What are those buckets? We're talking about digital infrastructure as one of the largest pillar in per se. Second, we're talking about governance and services, which is again talk about a lot of things in terms of the digitizations and citizen applications and stuff like that. And third, last is a digital empowerment. What I mean by that is the education for all, or what we call the IT literacy for all. Now, if you split those 3 buckets, this is how the 3 bucket looks like. Okay guys, forgot to tell you, there's going to be a little bit of Q&A after this with exciting gifts. So you have to pay a lot of attention to the data points I ask, because this is what will be part of the Q&A later on. Okay, now how does the first infrastructure project looks like? Okay, the first optical fiber cable. I'm handpicking few projects so to give you velocity and density of this whole project. Optical fiber cable project, which will connect about 250,000 odd villages, which is already started. A lot of work is already started. It's approximately about $5 billion capex investment, which will go from a government. Okay. Second, one of the largest projects we talk about is 4G rollout. 4G rollout in a current form, which we see Airtel, but in subsequent time, we will see that whole lot of those 4G service enabled would be rolled out in larger things. So spectrum availability around that piece, especially to the tier 3, tier 4 towns, will be made much more viable and be addressed through those offers and everything on that. HPC, when we talk about India's supercomputing, we talk about 70 connected HPC centers. And if any one of you are into the HPC business, we are roughly talking about 800,000 to about $1 billion investment to go in HPC only. Okay. A lot has been spoken about smart cities, but to give you intensity about this smart city right now, the 100 smart cities which we talked about, Narendra Modi has talked about, it will take about 18 to $20 billion investment to set this up. So where are we? Smart city, 18 billion. Okay. We look at a fiber optic, 5 billion and likes of these larger projects. So this is where the chunk of the money would come from. A chunk of the investment would go into it. Then we're looking at basically device and services. Basic citizen net applications, which will be about 2 billion by 2020. We are making India net zero by 2020 approximately, basically saying net connectivity across all Indians in per se. Then we're looking at prima facie is the empowerment. We're looking at least one digitally literate person per family. In this, we are talking about 17 million odd people to be digitally literated in from now to next 2.5 years. So if any one of you are into the education business, or any one of you are which is in providing a content and the services of digital, that this is the time we are looking at the potential when we work with the larger government entities when they have their own stiff target of about 17 million odd citizens to be educated in that case. Of course, the process of that would be through NGOs and many other forms, but the net numbers we are looking at about 17 million odd numbers to be looked in that case. Of course, the last but not the least, information for all. We're talking about, again, the entire community of India to be connected with about 1.2 billion odd citizens to be connected and offered these services, which will be across multiple forms of citizen application and citizen services altogether. Okay, this slide is about 5 days old, so haven't captured the recent announcements. So, but to give you this, the number which I talked about in my previous slide, in net total we are talking about from now till about 2.5, 3 years to go, the government of India would invest anything between 28 to 30 billion dollars over this under the Digital India framework. Okay, that's the investment which will get into that. So that's the government portion of investment. Because of that investments which is going to go, the private organizations, the large MNC organizations are also being welcomed to co-invest and build those infrastructure forward. Some of the recent announcements after PM's visit to US, it's a bit on a higher number, but this again, as I said, about a few days old. We talk about Cisco, which is talking about anything between 60 million to about $1 billion investment in R&D infrastructure. They already have a very large center based out of Bangalore. They plan to expand that. We're looking at Foxconn to start up at least 10 to 12 odd manufacturing and assembly points in India, which is across, will be about 2 or 3 states. We are looking at approximately IBM to invest about $3 to $3.5 billion to co-invest in that case. So that will also go through a partner like you when it goes to percolate down. So if you put together a government bucket of 30 billion and a private bucket for approximately about another $18 billion, so India will see approximately about 48 to $50 billion investment pretty much in next 8 to 10 quarters. I mean, I've been in IT industry for 20 years. We don't see these numbers coming easy, okay? And these are huge number. And this is not the numbers which we talk about, in our normal day-to-day, even our planning cycles. So this is the number we're all looking at right now, glaring at this, okay? Now let's do a little more deep dive of this. Where is this number going to come from? When I said the projects, right? We talked about those 5 or 6 big projects. Now wait, we talk about what kind of form factor it would come from. Okay. So how many of you, just quick raise of hand, who are purely into hardwares, PCs, sales, resale of that? Okay. Good. So which company would that be? So you have your own distribution in that. Right. Great. How many of you into servers, sales, resale of servers? Of course. Okay. How many of you are into services, providing professional services, price? What services would that be? Sorry? Banking solutions. Is it a third-party solutions or your own application? Which company that would be? Okay. As a branch automation online, what would that be? Back-end processing. Okay. Great. So give you a sense. So we have few people who are into hardware business. We have people who are in services. Rest of the crowd, you think about how does it relate these numbers back to you. Okay. Now, on the left-hand side, we talk about those 100 cities, supercomputing, e-government-centric projects, and everything. Let's pay attention to the right-hand side. Okay, some interesting numbers again. What is the total PC TAM in India? Basically, PC TAM means about total addressable market today as we speak. It's approximately about 10.4 million units a year. Okay, and that's how it's been about last 5-6 years. It has been growing in a single digit, but that's how pretty much between 2 and 5%, but that's pretty much is the number we're looking at. Total addressable market of tablets and phablets, not smartphones, but the tablet and phablets, is approximately about 4 to 4.5 million units. Okay, that's a number which will give you a sense currently which is altogether. The total smartphone market, okay, in India currently is approximately 215 odd million. In this case, give and take few number here and there, and that's also growing in its own pace altogether. Total server market when we're looking at is approximately in range of about 0.4 million. Okay, we all agree with this number? Any disconnect? So this is the current what we call compute industry in India. Okay. The total compute industry purely from hardware, I'm not talking about any services right now, totally from hardware is in tune of about 230 million odd in case of the size of this opportunity. Okay, when we 230 odd million units. If every vector of digital India, what government is talking about and what private players start co-investing, mainly the government part, start falling in line, which we already seeing by the way, is already started to fall in line. We are expected the market to grow by 2.5x. So that $30 billion which I talked about would result into a growth of 2.5x over 2 to 3 years. So what does it tell us? It tells us the PC, if you're into a purely hardware business of PC, we are expecting a 3x growth in the PC per se. When we're looking at tablets, we are looking at approximately 9x growth in the tablet market per se. Okay. When we're looking at smartphone again, because the base being very high of 215, we're looking at about again 2x of growth in that case. Server, which is purely has been a very, very slow growth market for us from last few years, we're looking at about 2x growth in that space. So across any form factor you are in, if you are into a hardware, if you're purely into a PC, if you're purely into a smartphone reselling, if you're purely into anything, this is the size of the opportunity which is looking at us. This is the outcome of those big projects resulting into those $30 billion investment and the $30 billion investment coming back to this kind of growth in a per unit basis. So this is the size of the opportunity. We are all looking into it. To capitalize this opportunity, what we're doing, how Intel is working more and closely with those partners, this will give you a little sense. I'll spend some time on this part of that. How many of you are into a government business here? Government tenders, retender, RCs? Okay, great, sir. How many of you are engaged in the Rajasthan deal? So somebody raised hand here. So which part of, are you in the DGCND supplying or what kind of government discussions you are in? Somebody raised, yes.
We are in import coal and power trading with NTPC and we are dealing with governments. Basically, you are talking about, I'm really having a lot of query with you, Anand, but after this session.
No problem.
I'm engaging with governments, NTPC supply to import coal.
Okay.
And power trading also.
Okay.
With IEX, trading the power supply to enterprise and other stakeholders.
Got it. Good. Anybody who's working on the tenders and larger? Yeah. Okay.
As well as with FTTH business.
Okay.
We are also into like army related new lines which are coming up in Jammu and Kashmir. Moreover, we are in grid business. So we are coming up with new tendering
Hmm.
in various areas.
Okay, good, good. So, give you a sense how Intel is working on it. So, wanted to get a complete case of the audience right now. So, currently we are engaged in three, again, types of engagement with government as well as partners like you, and of course, partner like Fujitsu, where we are closely engaged in. One project which we work very, very closely is absolutely mega projects, okay? I'm sure you would have seen couple of weeks back, government announced the GST project rollout, and one of the largest SI partner was the winner of those projects. I think project value was something to run in some 2,000 crores or something, if I remember correct, altogether. So that entire project, to an extent, the entire server and entire technology bit is being kindly awarded to on Intel Technologies. So what it does mean is that when a large project start getting conceptualized in terms of building that ecosystem right now, then we work with government to do the sizing of those opportunities, okay? In making sure the partner, they select the right partners, right technologies, as well as overall sizing of that platform which come into play. That's our one big forte which will come in play. Second thing which we work very closely is at the state levels, okay? Reason I was asking for Rajasthan, reason I was asking for anybody working in Himachal Pradesh or Chhattisgarh or couple of those places, we work from a data center all the way to the device level. What do I mean by that? What I mean is that when governments, now what we've seen after the allocation, after the earmarking of $30 billion investment, what government is doing from a central kitty, they're letting go that investment at the state level. So each state is more empowered to roll out and purchase the IT equipments for their own personal need, okay? Which was not the case earlier. It used to have selective, but now you will see more and more momentum coming in play. So case in point, Rajasthan. Rajasthan currently as a state is in process of procuring about 40 to 50,000 odd PCs for students, which will be given to students for their education purpose. And when we started engaging with the government, what we realized that the entire 50,000 PCs, their backbone, which was a server, which was supposed to be pushing the content to the PC, is not up to the mark, right? It is old, it has a legacy problem, it is not able to cater to the serving about 60,000 odd requirement. We worked with the government close all together, and then we realized that there's an opportunity to push 1,000 to 1,200 odd servers in that case, okay? That call from devices to data center. At this one hand, work with the government very closely, procuring the local devices, which is the PCs, laptops and everything. At the back end, working with government extremely closely to building that robust data centers on a timely fashion way. Third, which will come into play is our market makers, right? What I mean by market makers is actually working with set of partners to make sure the new form factor of PCs are out, okay? Now, quick question here. How many types of PCs available today? Wild guess? Laptops, okay? Thin clients, 2. Tablets, 3. PC on stick, 4. Mainframes, yeah. So yeah, laptop, ma'am, I have taken laptop in this. Okay, 5. Desktop, yes. 6.
2-in-1s.
2-in-1, 7. All-in-one, 8. Notebook you taken. That's a type, but category, 8. In a notebook category, prima facie, sir, if you... Smartboard, 9. Tablet we have taken. Sure. Think again. Atom is a processor. Smart TV is not a computer, it's more of a streaming device. 8, 9. Why not? 10? Okay, pretty much close. Yes, one more category left is minis, which is recently evolved. Now think about this room, right? 6 months, 1 year back, or probably a year and a half back, could we even think of beyond a tower and a notebook? And today we are talking about 10 to 11 different type of compute machines, ranging from 4,000 rupees runs in few hundred lakhs. This is what we do as an Intel when we work with partners to bring those new form factors, new technologies, which will help the players and the partners and the consumer to evolve faster. And I would add on to it now. These numbers which you talked about, 2-in-1, all-in-one, it would evolve so drastically that we will probably not able to catch up with the pace. I'll tell you how. Now, the all-in-one would come with a face recognition capability at extremely affordable price. What does it mean? If you are one of you supplying into a banking, if you have that capability of your software, and you're doing a simple branch automation, and tomorrow you go to a simple clerk, he doesn't need to do a signature recognition. When he switch on his PC, it will do a face recognition for doing every transaction. 2-in-1. It will come with a multiple form factors of 2-in-1. It will come in a simple, which we look at a detachable. Today we look at a foldable category, but it will start to come into such a slim form that still able to give you a large data storage and about 10 to 12 hours of battery backup. Rural AIOs, all-in-ones, again, would come with about 6 to 10 hours of battery inbuilt with 21 mm width of that machine. You don't need your inventory, you don't need your local inverters when you're looking at buying those PC in that case. So tenders and a lot of those opportunities will come back to you while stating that inbuilt storage, inbuilt battery backups altogether. So point is what I'm trying to say that as an industry, probably after a very, very long time, in last year and a half, we have evolved and evolved very fast in different form factor, in different price points, in different technologies, in different new, now the cameras will come, which will be a real sense camera, which is the third things which will come out very soon. 6 months down the line, you and I will be talking very commonly, which is called 3D printing, 3D digitization. Okay, you will be so familiar with that, it will sound alien to you right now and so expensive. 6 months down the line, you and I will be extremely comfortable talking about which 3D cameras and the printing one should be taking in consideration, because that will become a normal requirement for printings as well as for digitization companies. So the team which is trying to say is that that would be our endeavors which we come out. We come out with these form factors repeatedly, work with partners like online partners, could be Flipkarts, Amazons and everything, as well as with larger OEM partners like Fujitsu's and other partners to make sure those innovations are brought onto your table at much faster pace at much affordable price point. So that brings the end to end of my quick presentation. So hope it was useful. So coming back to do we have that? Oh boy, I want to keep all the. Okay, so ready for the quiz? Okay, what was the size of fiber optic cable, number of villages to be covered? Please raise your hand, don't speak. Yeah, you were the first one. Yeah, here you go. Please don't speak, okay? Otherwise, I'll not able to figure it out.
Okay, can I get your name, please? Can we have a big round of applause for Mr. Narendra Kumar Sharma? Congratulations.
So I have a cut, okay? So I give you give me half of it back. Okay, second question. How many forms of PC available today? Yes, sir. 11. Pretty close, okay. Here.
You got it correct?
Gentleman, yeah.
Sir, can I get your name? Can we have a big round of applause
Yeah.
for Mr. Pankaj? Congratulations.
How many we are left with? We have enough? Okay, we can go on and okay. What is the size of investment IBM is trying to make under Digital India? Sorry, I think the gentleman, yeah, blue shirt, yeah. Yeah, you. Yes, you. 3 billion, right? You said million or billion before? Paka?
What's your name, sir? Can we have a big round of applause for Mr. Neeraj? Congratulations.
Good, we're done? Looks like we're done. Oh, we have 2, 3 more. Okay, good. Okay, so when we look at, can somebody give me a quick comparison between PC on stick as well as N computing? Going to be a little elaborated one. PC on stick and N computing. One key differentiator. Raise your hand, please. Yeah.
In computing has a separate storage and it's not that much limited. It's generally somewhere in 10 or maximum 13 GB. Whereas in computing it has a large amount of storage. Maybe it can go up to TBs.
Okay, you're kind of there. Yeah.
It is generally for browsing.
In computing is browsing.
No. The stick is generally for browsing, whereas in computing you can do hardcore programming as well.
Okay, who Googled it right now? Come on, guys. No Googling here. Okay, ma'am, you go ahead. You're close, but I just want to hear it from somebody else also.
I think N computing deals with the number of cores and multiple computing.
Okay.
Multiple cores and GPUs.
Can you keep a mic closer to your mouth? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
It is concerned with multiple cores and.
Okay. What else? Yeah. And what is then PC on stick?
PC on stick is just one processor with the.
You just read the first line of Google. Yeah. Multitasking, okay.
And multi-computing, multitasking. And this USB is normally standalone.
Okay, so you both are kind of 50-50 almost. So, okay, I'll hold on. Anybody else who want to give me a complete answer? Yes, sir.
Where the N computing serves the multiple systems in a single device.
Oh, I have 50 now.
Okay. Okay.
So you can connect multiple devices with a single PC.
Yeah.
And the compute in a single PC.
Okay. Okay.
Even though the desktop and laptops are single independent PCs and they can compute themselves.
Okay. Yeah. So I think he'll be more structured answer, I would say. None of the wrong, by the way, but it's kind of 20%, 30%, so he's about 60%, so let's give it to him.
So then that means that gifts come back to me. So this is for you, sir. Congratulations. Can I get your name? Can we have a big round of applause for Mr. S.K. Gupta?
Okay, great. We done?
We do have one more.
We have one more. Okay, great. I'm sorry about that. You were collecting gifts today, huh? Okay, so quickly on that, what is the next generation of in Intel? Next platform is code-named. Yeah. No, IAS technology. No, sir. Sorry? Next generation of Intel technology. What is the code of that? In PC, just like we call it Broadwell, all that different names, right? So, in compute. No?
Please raise your hand so that we can pass on the mic.
Provi, no. No, that's a hardware, technology-wise. No. One question I want to get right for Intel.
So we have somebody raising his hand here.
I want to get it right for Intel. So, Skylake, did you Google it? Okay, anyway.
So we give away the last prize. So what's your name?
Out of syllabus, yeah.
A big round of applause for Mr. Sanjay. This is for your honesty. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Really appreciate your patience. Hope the presentation was fruitful. Open for Q&A. So what happens every 6 months to 1 year, sir, like Windows move from Windows 8 to Windows 10, we also transit from old technology to new technology. The current technology which we are on is a code name called Broadwell. Okay? It's basically 14 nanometer chipset, and that's how processing. The next, the 6th generation which is coming out will be a code name called Skylake. Okay? Skylake is basically would be much enhanced in 14 nanometer and will be able to give you certain other embedded features like what I said, face recognition, digital signage, all built into a hardware level capabilities. So that will be our next generation, which is launching in about month of November in India. It's already launched, but it will be available in marketplace altogether. So generally, when you see a full page ad from HPs and Lenovo's and Dell OEMs, generally they mention Intel latest 5th generation, right? Say 5th generation, 6th generation. So the code name of 5th and 6th generations are basically these Skylakes, Broadwells, and everything.
So we'll have one more question.
Yeah, Anand, my question is with you only. In last topic also discussed about 100 smart city, and you also discussed about the 100 smart cities, correct? So based on that announcement, now we are analyzing the IT scope in India and business prospects also. And last 10 to 15 years, IT industry is age in India. The most of the top 10 companies, including you also, the 76% revenue is coming from Europe and UK and USA.
So from where?
From Europe and UK and USA,
Okay,
Australia,
yeah, okay.
and those regions only. In India, the IT is actually not up to that level how that the UK and US people is using. Now we are getting ERP, business application, those things. Earlier 10 years back, we are getting only SAP. Now, after 10 years, we come to know SAP is nothing, that is the business application, which is ERP. About the 100 smart city, how we'll get the money to make it that Wi-Fi infrastructure and all the things?
Okay.
Because you announced Mr. Modi's visiting to
sure.
across the world and getting the lot of commitment to people invest in India and create the prospects and business. So big challenge
Sure.
across the world, not only India, the economy, India economy, and in fact the revenue. How government make the revenue and do that infrastructure? Because 100 smart city making the huge money in all the things. Even in IT itself, making the optical fiber in India, internet and mobility, call drop and other, only IT and telecom things only, lot of problems is going on. So how the thing is going to happen, we are discussing in conference in this table, not going in micro level, but on the broader level, कितना time लगेगा सब कुछ ठीक करने में? 10 साल, 15 साल, 20 साल? If Mr. Modi
Let me split your question in two forms. Tell me if it's okay with you, sir. One, I tell you in so-called smart city, where would this $18 billion would go? Okay, how? Let me give you that sense on that. Second, when we look at the smart cities, the infrastructurally wise, what is the vision which will percolate down in so-called problem solving of yours? Okay. Now, everybody has their own ways of thinking in the smart city, but that's again what we heard from government as well as what we're hearing from partners who are working on smart cities. Okay. First of all, smart city is not smart building automation. So everybody has to come out of this. A lot of people think that when you make a building automation software, it's smart city. It is not. Okay. What is a smart city in concept would revolve? It would revolve around that it would have set of compute around that geographical area, which will allow a citizen to use certain government citizen application with single session sign-on, with one card, one smart card. Pretty much all of us travel to US and Singapore, you would have seen those things, which means that those 100 hubs will be fully functional, fully self-sufficient in terms of healthcare, education, public safeties, all elements, and one would not need any third-party application interface altogether as long as he has or she has a smart capable device which could come in many form and shape. That is a broad framework of those. Not easy to implement, everybody has to be tried in this space. Now how does it going to get implemented? Where does $18 billion will go into it? It is for sure it will get into building the large infrastructure that will go into that. The opportunity for all of us is in a form of IoTs, okay, Internet of Things, which you're realizing. Currently you'll be amazed the amount of Chinese vendors, Taiwanese vendors which have entered in India and have done series of presentation to government and started to pick first POC projects in India is not funny. You will not find as many Indian companies doing those POCs as we took up. We're just doing one POC with one of the largest builders in Bangalore, and they have multiple altogether. What it means in that compound and altogether, the old residents staying here, from the time a resident checks out from his house to all the whereabouts of that resident, to the time he comes back, every system is in an automated way. And it sends the information in a required field as selected by a citizen, from his healthcare, from medicals to everything else in a connected environment basis. And that requires multiple ports to be connected, hence able to service back to a central server in that case. So that would be a broad blueprint of a smart city which is evolving in that case. It will happen in nuts and bolts. It's not a tomorrow morning somebody will get up and we'll have a city will be ready altogether. In our opinion, the first those 100 cities which has been physically picked it up are getting ready with all those public amenities services which will be interconnected with single gateway pass. And that's what the vision was all about. Otherwise, building automation smart city, everybody has it, right? We don't need to talk about it. It's about connecting those citizen applications to a single server. It will be a called smart city in that. Hope I kind of answered your question.
Yeah, you are close and you are very smart to answering the smart way, that's fine. But
I have no idea how to take this feedback. Compliment, I would take it. Okay, I think that's enough.